Welcome to the National Press Club. I'm Frank Maisano. I'm with Bracewell Giuliani, and I'm a member of the National Press Club's Newsmakers Committee. Today, we're featuring a very timely panel, as I said, that discusses the solar industry and its current opportunities and challenges. Our speakers include Rhone Resch, who is just to my immediate right. He's the head of the Solar Industries Trade Association, SEIA. Rhone is joined here at the front table by one step over. Tony Clifford is the CEO of Standard Solar since 2007, and he leads Solar, the SEIA's chapter in Maryland. He's a local guy, and we're glad to have him. We see him in Annapolis a lot, helping with the state legislature as well. To his right is Joe Desmond, who is with BrightSource Energy, Senior Vice President there, and to Rhone's immediate right is who I promise there will be no math here today, but presenting the numbers on the third quarter for the solar industry and an overall picture of the solar industry's strength and growth is Shayle Kann, who's the Managing Director of GTM Research's solar practice. So let me turn it over to Rhone, and we'll see you back when it's time for questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Frank. Once again, my name is Rhone Resch. I'm President and CEO of SEIA, the Solar Energy Industries Association. We're going to start off with Shayle talking about the results from the report, and then we're going to talk specifically about why we're seeing the growth in the solar industry, and in particular, the 1603 Treasury program that Frank mentioned and the impact that the 1603 program has in growing this industry for both small businesses and large businesses. And then finally, we're going to discuss why it's so critical that Congress extend the 1603 program today. The solar industry today employs more than 100,000 people in the United States, and we're made up by over 5,000 companies. The vast majority of the companies in the solar industry are small businesses. This is fundamentally the most important policy for expanding the use of renewable energy in this country and in our history. It was created to address an inadequacy that existed in our economy today, and unfortunately, that inadequacy still exists, and this program is still needed. So with that, Shayle, I'll turn it over to you to give us an update on the third market report.
Thanks, Rhone, and Frank as well. It's a pleasure to be here today. To begin, let me provide a bit of context. In 2010, solar photovoltaic, or PV, installations in the U.S. grew 104% over 2009 to reach 887 megawatts on the year. Through the third quarter of 2011, we saw over 1,000 megawatts, or over a gigawatt, installed. That is already more than was installed in all of 2010, and that's not including the fourth quarter, which is typically the strongest quarter in the U.S. We saw 449 megawatts of PV installed in the third quarter. That's by far the largest quarter ever that we've had in the U.S., and we at GTM Research are forecasting 1.7 gigawatts to be installed on the year. That's 89% growth over 2010. We have real potential to become the largest solar market in the world within the next few years, and 2012 is a really critical time for us to take a big step in that direction.
Thank you very much, Shayle. You all should have copies of the executive summary. There's some great information in there. What I'd now like to do is to ask Tony Clifford, who's CEO of Standard Solar, a local-based installer and developer of solar, to really talk a little bit about the market and talk about, from his company's perspective, the importance of programs like 1603 and as an employer in the region, what 1603, the uncertainty of having it potentially expire at the end of the year means to a business, and how critical it is for small businesses to have policy certainty and keep the 1603 program going. Tony?
Thanks, Rhone. I'll start by giving you a brief history lesson about Standard Solar. The company started operations in 2006. I joined in early 2007. At that time, we had 3 employees, and we were strictly a residential installer in the D.C. metro area. Now, if you fast forward a few years, we've got about 100 employees. We operate in 10 states, and rather than just strictly residential, we do commercial and the smaller end of utility scale projects. So I think We've also been listed for the last 2 years on the Inc. 500 list of fastest growing companies. So I think we're pretty much a small business that's a solar success story. Now, when you look at most of our employment growth, it's taken place in the last 2 years. Not coincidentally, that is when the 1603 program was in effect. That has definitely had a dramatic impact on our ability to create jobs and to grow our business. If you look about what we're looking at for 2012, we're planning to hire up to 25 to 30 employees. We're not doing any hires in the first quarter because we want to be certain of what our market really looks like. And one of the big things there, again, is the 1603 program. And, a lot of the things about 1603, what grabs the headlines are the mega projects. They're not the projects that we do. But the average size of a 1603 grant is less than $500,000. That is not a mega project. These projects are spread throughout the 50 states, and they're with little companies like Standard Solar. And, we are pretty much a success story, but there are 5,000 companies in this industry, and a lot of them are like Standard Solar. Maybe they're not growing quite as fast, but ending this program is going to have a true dampening effect throughout the solar industry at every level. And I think that, this has been a great jobs creation program. It's been good for the economy. Solar is one of the fastest growing industries in the United States. And I think that I would urge Congress to sort of not let this one die. And one more thing I would say about the 1603 program, this is not new money. This is coupled to the 30% investment tax credit that solar has had for several years now and is scheduled to go through 2016. And this is just a different way of doing the financing for that. That's all it is. It's not something new. We're not asking for anything new. We just like to keep what we have, and that's it. And if we can do that, I'm sure that the solar industry is going to continue to grow very rapidly in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. I'd now like to introduce Joe Desmond. Joe is Senior Vice President for Government Affairs and Communications with BrightSource Energy, and he's going to give a perspective as a utility-scale developer, how the market is shaping up, and again, the 1603 program importance from a certainty perspective in financing these projects. Joe?
Great. Thank you, Rhone. So why is it important about the 1603? And I want to make sure, because I was talking to someone yesterday about the context, and I think you touched on it right away, which is this is not new policy. The investment tax credit exists in Section 48 of the IRS Code, and it's designed to encourage investments in renewables in the United States, and it runs through 2016. The program allows you to monetize that tax benefit. And so where there are insufficient appetite for the tax equity, you can tap into other large debt markets. And the debt is lower cost debt. That means that the cost of constructing and financing a project is lower, and that translates to lower costs of energy for consumers. There's a direct benefit. This is an effective mechanism. It lowers the cost. It generates private sector dollars in investment, and you can look at not just our projects, but many others as to why it's important, and certainly important for Congress to extend this one more time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe.
I'll just add one thing about Solyndra. They were not a factor in the marketplace ever. They were tiny from a market standpoint. Yeah, and they're a great salacious story, but from a market impact story, they were really not a major player or even much of a minor player in the solar business. And I don't think Congress should try and throw the entire industry under the bus because one company managed to lose money on a federal loan guarantee. And then in terms of what the impact of 1603 would be for our company, as I said during my remarks, we're planning to hire about 25 people this year. We'd have to scale that back. We may not hire any. I mean, we're going to be very careful and watch the way things look after the first quarter. But this could have a real dampening effect, as Rhone noted, on the hiring throughout the solar industry.